Your government drugged you. Erased your memories. Destroyed your mind. For 20 years, the CIA experimented on thousands of Americans without their knowledge. They called it MKUltra. Then they burned the evidence. What are they hiding right now? In 1953, the CIA launched a secret program that would become one of the darkest chapters in American history. For 20 years, they drugged unwitting citizens, erased memories, and destroyed minds in a desperate quest to control human behavior. They called it MKUltra. And when investigators finally discovered the truth, the CIA had already destroyed most of the evidence. This is the story they tried to hide forever. The Cold War had America terrified. Reports flooded in from Korea about captured American soldiers confessing to crimes they never committed, pledging allegiance to communism, refusing to come home. The CIA became convinced that communist nations had cracked the code to mind control. Whether it was true or not didn't matter. American intelligence believed it, and they were desperate to catch up. In April 1953, CIA Director Allen Dulles authorized a program so secret that even its existence was classified top secret. MKUltra. The mission: discover methods to control human behavior through any means necessary. No oversight. No ethics committees. No informed consent. Just results. Leading the program was Sidney Gottlieb, a chemist known around headquarters as the Black Sorcerer. He had an unlimited budget and absolute secrecy. And he was about to oversee experiments on thousands of Americans who had no idea what was being done to them. MKUltra wasn't just one project. It was 149 separate subprojects spanning universities, hospitals, prisons, and pharmaceutical companies across the United States and Canada. The CIA funneled money through fake organizations so no one knew who was really paying for the research. And at the center of it all was one drug, LSD. The most powerful mind-altering substance ever discovered. Gottlieb became obsessed with it. Could it break down psychological defenses? Could it erase memories? Make people follow commands? There was only one way to find out: test it on people without their knowledge or permission. The experiment started within the CIA itself. Agents would spike each other's drinks at office parties, watching what happened when colleagues unknowingly consumed LSD. But it quickly expanded far beyond agency walls. In 1953, at a retreat in Maryland, Gottlieb spiked the after-dinner drinks of military scientists. One of them, Dr. Frank Olson, fell from a hotel window 9 days later. The official story was suicide. But decades later, evidence emerged suggesting something far darker. The Olson incident should have ended MKUltra. Instead, it barely slowed it down. The CIA wanted to test LSD on ordinary Americans who would never suspect they were being drugged. So they created Operation Midnight Climax. The agency set up fake brothels in San Francisco and New York. They hired prostitutes to lure men inside and slip LSD into their drinks. Behind two-way mirrors, CIA agents watched and recorded everything. The victims never knew they'd been drugged and studied by their own government. Operation Midnight Climax ran for nearly a decade. But the darkest experiments happened in hospitals and universities. In Montreal, psychiatrist Dr. Donald Ewan Cameron conducted experiments that sound like torture. He would drug patients unconscious for weeks while blasting them with recorded messages on endless loops. He combined this with electroshock therapy at 30 to 40 times normal intensity, plus LSD in sensory deprivation. His goal was to erase a person's mind completely and rebuild it from scratch. The results were catastrophic. Patients emerged unable to recognize their own children. Some forgot how to eat or use a toilet. Others lost years of memories. Many never recovered. And the CIA funded it all, with Cameron never knowing who was really paying for his research. Similar experiments occurred at Stanford, at prisons in Kentucky, at hospitals across America. The victims were chosen carefully: prisoners, mental patients, drug addicts, people with no power to complain or seek justice. Vulnerable people whose suffering didn't matter to those conducting the experiments. LSD wasn't the only tool. The CIA tested hundreds of substances: barbiturates, amphetamines, heroin, mescaline, experimental drugs never approved for humans. They combined drugs with hypnosis, trying to create subjects who would follow commands while having no memory of doing so. They studied sensory deprivation, locking people in dark, silent rooms for days to break their psychological resistance. They experimented with electroshock, sleep deprivation, and psychological torture designed to break a person's will without leaving physical marks. The scientists convinced themselves they were patriots. If the communists had these weapons, shouldn't America have them too? This rationalization allowed educated, intelligent people to abandon every ethical principle they'd learned. Less than a decade after America prosecuted Nazi doctors for experimenting on concentration camp prisoners, American doctors were doing the same thing to their own citizens. Some experiments focused on creating programmed assassins, people who could be hypnotized to kill and then have no memory of it. A real-life Manchurian candidate. There's no evidence they ever succeeded, but they certainly tried. And because most records were destroyed, we'll never know the full extent of what they attempted. People died in these experiments. Some went insane. Some disappeared entirely from the historical record. And for every experiment we know about, there may be dozens we don't. By 1973, the world was changing. Investigative journalism was exposing government secrets. Within the CIA, some questioned whether MKUltra had gone too far. Richard Helms, who had been involved with the program from the beginning and was now CIA director, made a decision. He ordered Sidney Gottlieb to destroy all MKUltra records. Thousands of documents were shredded and burned. The complete list of subprojects, locations, victims, and results went up in smoke. It was one of the most comprehensive cover-ups in American history. They wanted to make sure no one would ever know the full truth about what they'd done. But they made one mistake. Financial records, receipts and invoices, were misfiled and escaped destruction. These documents would eventually blow the whole thing open. In 1975, congressional investigation stumbled upon those surviving records. They revealed a massive program of human experimentation that shocked even hardened politicians. CIA Director William Colby was forced to testify. He acknowledged MKUltra existed but claimed the destroyed records meant the full details were lost forever. Sidney Gottlieb was called before Congress. The former black sorcerer claimed not to remember details. He showed no remorse for the lives destroyed. President Ford apologized to Frank Olson's family and offered a settlement. But for most victims, there was no acknowledgement, no compensation, no justice. The full truth about MKUltra remains hidden. We know about 149 subprojects, but what exactly happened in each one? We know people died, but how many and under what circumstances? The destroyed records ensure we'll never have complete answers. And that's precisely why they were destroyed. Some victims sued the government. A few won modest settlements, $75,000 for having your mind destroyed. Most claims were rejected because without records, they couldn't prove what had been done to them. Dr. Cameron died before MKUltra became public. Sidney Gottlieb lived quietly until 1999. Most scientists involved faced no consequences. The prostitutes who drugged men disappeared into history. The CIA claims MKUltra was a failure, that they never found reliable truth serums or created programmed assassins. But should we believe them? After all, this is the same agency that denied the program existed until evidence forced them to admit it. The same agency that destroyed the records. The same agency with a documented history of lying to Congress and the public. And here's the haunting question: did MKUltra really end in 1973? Or did it just get renamed and reclassified? Intelligence programs often don't end, they evolve. Research into psychological manipulation continues today, much of it classified. We won't know what crosses ethical lines until decades later, when documents are finally declassified. MKUltra reveals what governments are capable of when they operate without accountability. It demonstrates that the phrase national security can be used to justify almost anything. It proves that good people can do terrible things when they accept that the ends justify the means. The victims of MKUltra deserved better. Most never received justice or even acknowledgement. Their suffering was real. The destroyed lives were real. And it happened in America, the nation that prosecuted Nazi doctors for similar crimes. This isn't ancient history. Some victims are still alive. Documents continue to be declassified. And the question remains, if it could happen then, what's happening now that we won't discover until 2075? That's the secret history of MKUltra. That's the program your government conducted on its own citizens. And that's the truth they tried to hide forever.